Okay, so snapshot in my life. What am I doing with my language learning? Well, um, every day I try to get up extra early. It works. It really works best if I can get up before 5 o'clock. If I get up before 5 o'clock, I'll spend a bit more time with some of the more difficult languages I'm learning. If not, it's mostly just 15 minutes for most of my languages. So, um, let's say that my life is really, really, really stable. I've got my exercise routine, and I'm eating well, not drinking too much coffee in the morning. I can get to sleep by 9:30, 10 o'clock. Okay, so best case scenario, I get up at 3:30. Soon as I get up at 3:30, or let's just say 4, so it doesn't sound so insane. 4 o'clock sounds insane, so let's go with 5 o'clock, right? So let's say it's not too extreme that day. Um, so 5 o'clock, get up, put on the headphones, listen to Portuguese audiobook for 15 minutes while I prepare coffee, wash the face, get ready to sit down. Sit down. Um, 15 minutes of minimum 15 minutes of reviewing Arabic work. So I've worked with Mastering Arabic 1 and Mastering Arabic 2, and oh my god, those books are well put together, but I think you need to have a teacher for those books because there aren't translations of the text. Like you've got to decode all of the text and with the vocabulary that they give you, which sure that's useful if you know giving the student all like the work and they discover it themselves, right? But that does take a lot of work, and I think that that time would be better used if I was just understanding what I'm reading and listening to. So, mastering Arabic 1 and 2, I've got about halfway through mastering Arabic 2, then I got a bit frustrated with the format of the book, so I started with L'Arabe sans peine, yeah, sans peine, and I printed out that book. I bought it, but it's not in this country with me. So I scanned it here not too long ago, and I've printed it out. So when I open the book up, I'm listening and reading along, and if it's a new lesson in L'Arabe sans peine, it's an Assimil book. So if there's a uh, new lesson, then I listen to it, following along with French, so I understand it. I listen to it again, following several times, maybe listening, following along with reading the French, maybe using two fingers while I read it, and then to get a global understanding of each line, and then uh, and then start looking at the word by word breakdowns of the sentences, and then yeah, so add on maybe one or two lessons each day and reviewing the other ones during that day. So at any given day in 15 minutes, I can do 8 to 10 of those lessons, which most of them are review and one or two of them are new. So that's Arabic. And let's see, Russian. I have a perfection mongoose. My French pronunciation is pretty bad, so I've got another Asimil book. It's an advanced Russian uh, textbook, and I'm following along with it the same procedure I described with the Arabic Asimil book. Uh, After Russian, there's Norwegian and um, Norwegian. So I was originally going through this colloquial and I got so frustrated with the textbook by about lesson 14 because the audio, it's, I think in this whole book, if you use Audacity and you if you get all of the Norwegian off of this and you remove all of the blank spaces where you're supposed to repeat, or all of the English where somebody's explaining what's in the textbook, which is unnecessary. Like, you've got about 40-45 minutes of audio. And whoops, uh, I think it was useful, but I mean, there's so many words. If you look at a dialogue in here, or if you look at a text, there's just so much. They give you a word list in the back, but often the word list is not enough to go through the text, and it would be better to just have a translation of the text. So, Norwegian. I was listening to the Norwegian and reading the English of Harry Potter. One was Norwegian for a while. Then I'm so familiar with Harry Potter. Usually it's helpful, but my vocabulary just wasn't enough for Norwegian. I watched some shows on Netflix using the Google Chrome extension. I think it's called the Languages app, or you just Google search for Netflix Google Chrome extension, and you'll find it's nice. You can get subtitles in two languages, and so that you can get instant access. You can click on a word and there's a definition. Um, Japanese using Asimil, Japanese with ease. Turkish, I was using Teach Yourself Turkish until I got frustrated with analyzing the dialogues, and the dialogues are too fast, and then trying to, so so then I gave up on Unit 9 with Teach Yourself Turkish, and now I'm using the uh, Turkish Onamur. So that's the German Asimil for that. Vietnamese, same story with Turkish, was using Teach Yourself. Uh, by the time you get to Unit 2, Dialogue 1, uh, there's just so much in that dialogue there's no translation of the dialogue, and there's no, uh, you've got just like a glossary at the bottom, like word lists at the bottom of that dialogue or after that dialogue, and it's not enough to tell you all of the unknown parts of that dialogue. And even in the grammar notes for that unit, it doesn't cover everything that's in that text, and it's very frustrating if you're an independent language learner, you're using that text as a learning tool. You're not using that text to develop skills. Like, I'm going to develop my reading ability, my reading skills by using what I know. No. We use, for me as a language learner, I'm using my reading skills to understand, to achieve a goal by using what I know and not focusing on what I don't know. For example, reading a novel, right? If I'm in the beginning stages of a language, I don't want to be dealing with all these unknown words and no translations of those words. The only people who seem to disagree with that are people who haven't learned several languages themselves. So I got the Asimil Vietnamese book, and that's in French, and going nicely with that, about lesson 20 so far. Thai, teach yourself Thai, is working because the dialogues are so short. They're so short. And it doesn't take that long to analyze them and make a translation of each sentence so that when you listen, you can follow the English, the language you know, to get the overall idea of the audio, right? And then you can start looking at the transliteration and start looking at the Thai that's written next to it. Teach yourself Croatian. So I wanted to learn Serbo-Croatian, and the Teach Yourself book is getting really frustrating by Unit 12, and I'll probably be changing what I'm doing there. So method I was using with Teach Yourself is uh, like to listen and read along with the dialogues, and with the Teach Yourself there's also a lot of analysis you have to do, like circle a word, then write the meaning of it. Let's see, Italian. I was going through Teach Yourself, improve your Italian. Uh, you have to analyze a lot with that as well. And now I'm just listening to Harry Potter audiobook. That's going fine. Catalan, it's kind of hard to get resources. I did Little Prince at the audiobook from Audible, and I've got a Goosebump book. It's a children's book. It's like for fourth grade students. I got that when I was in Barcelona, and I've got the English version, so I'm reading a bit of the English version, and so using it like a bilingual text. And that's working nicely, about 15 minutes a day. Portuguese, Harry Potter audiobooks. One day I'll get tired of Harry Potter. Um, I've listened to the whole series in German and in French and Spanish. I've done the first three books. So I'm pretty familiar with that. Dutch, doing a mixture of Harry Potter and the Dutch with Ease, the Assimil book. I'm halfway through with that. Um, it has some pretty funny dialogues in it. Old English. I'm using Teach Yourself Old English just because I've got this book. This book is nearly 100 years old. Nearly. 1926. It's called an Old English Primer. Let's see. No, it's called The Threshold. The Threshold of Anglo-Saxon. It smells pretty old too. It's a really unique book to have in Beijing, I suppose. And so it has an overview of the grammar, first 50 or so pages, and then you dive into texts and you've got to read and understand them. So before I worked through the first, just the first three kind of chapters in here. It's got the finding of Moses from finding of Moses from Exodus, the prodigal son from the Gospel of Luke, and yeah, so it's got some other texts in there, but yeah, that's a bit too hard to jump right into. So I decided I'd go with Teach Yourself, Old English, and about halfway through there, just 15 minutes a day. It's a lot of text to just read in modern English about Old English, but it's giving me a foundation and an overview, so that's fine. So after I analyze and go through everything with the language in that book, I'll go back over and repeat, just focus on the Old English, not the explanations. Latin, I've found, let's see, yeah, so I've got the 1960s version of the Assimil de Latin sans pen, and going through that, and it's got the audio is old recordings, old records, right? Audio sounds pretty bad, but hey, it's fun. It's fun using a book that old. German, Spanish, French, I'm going through an audio, just using audiobooks really, so I'm not really sitting down with those languages. It doesn't even feel like I'm really active with them, but I'm still learning a bit by listening a lot. Mandarin. I got this book several years ago here in China. So this is an advanced advanced book. It's supposed to be about for speaking, but it's I mean, I don't really see how you're doing much speaking with it. But ooh, you've got to really go through the text and work through the text. It gives you a nice there's a nice kind of word bank at the back, but you still got to go through it. So it's got lots of audio, like 5 minutes for each chapter. It's cool. It's quite a bit, and it's read really quickly. And so once I do go through and I analyze a dialogue, or it's supposed to be a dialogue, it's really a wall of text. So I go through. When I first get to a new unit, I'll listen and read along to get a kind of global understanding if I can. Then I'll go and start circling all the words that I don't know, and I look them up, or I check in the glossary that's right behind the text. And I read and listen to it, picking up, trying to focus on the words I don't know and the definition that I indicated. And I do that until I have a good understanding, and I also repeat the previous dialogues. So yeah, sometimes I spend 15 minutes of just copying text out. I need to work on traditional characters, but my focus up to now has been mostly with simplified characters. So yeah, that's what I'm doing mostly with my study routine at the moment. So you notice that not too much is with speaking or interacting with others, and I feel like that's just at this point in my language learning journey, that's just going to slow me down. So my time right now is probably better with just massive input and massive learning, memorizing, getting it inside me. And I have faith it's activatable in the future. But I don't need that motivation right now to like, oh, I can speak it and people can understand me. I don't need that. I need to maintain a routine that I'm happy with and allows me to keep building on what I've got in here. It doesn't take too much to really activate what you've got, but it takes a lot to build it up. So that's what I'm doing these days. I hope you found this interesting, insightful. Hope you've got some ideas to amend or improve your own study routine, or maybe it's confirmed a few things you already feel. Okay, thanks for watching though. Bye-bye.